let's move on to the next interpellator. Let's call on Deputy Speaker, Honorable MARCOLETA, who is physically present here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm more interested in the self-learning materials that the DEPED had been talking about in the answer to the circumstances of pandemic. I'd like to know how distance learning can be operationalized with the self-learning modules. Can you discuss this briefly?
Yes, I hear Secretary Briones.
Your Honor, Undersecretary Dadson Antonio can adequately answer that question. He's overseeing the matter of self-learning modules.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Ma'am Liling. Madam Chair, the approaches in delivering distance learning delivery modalities, we have offered several options. Those learners with access to the internet and with gadgets at home will do online distance learning. Those with no access to internet but with access to gadgets will be doing modular digital. The learning resources will be sent to the learners through flash drives or other means, and they will be able to open the learning resources at home. The other type is modular printed. This is the most popular choice of the families, even in areas where we believe they have gadgets or they have access to the internet. Printed self-learning modules will be used. And then we will also be making use of TV and radio, essentially to supplement the other modalities. So we are saying it's going to be essentially blended distance learning because the learners will be able to access different learning resources. We also will be using the textbooks that have been mapped against the most essential learning competencies, together with a learning plan and activity sheets our fellow teachers will prepare. Depending on the distance learning delivery modality, essentially the learning will happen at home. So this would really need the support of parents or grandparents or any significant adult who is capable of providing the guidance and support. But as earlier suggested, there would be some families whose parents or adult members of the household would not be capable or won't have the time to actually extend support to the children. And this is the case where the learner support aides and other volunteers would be able to provide the support. The actual strategy will not be uniform, as has been consistently mentioned by Secretary Liling. The schools and the division offices have been empowered to come up with their own decisions consistent with the situations that they have in their own areas. So as has been demonstrated by our dry runs, the schools and the division offices have come up with their own arrangements on how the printed self-learning modules will be brought to the families.
How many self-learning materials are you supposed to produce for the students, for the learners? How many SLMs do you intend to produce?
We are preparing SLMs that would...
I'm not asking you how much you are preparing. How much will you produce?
Yes,
how many SLMs will you produce?
I'll check my files, Your Honor.
Madam Chair, these kind of questions are very basic. They're talking about a modality, a self-learning method adapted for the pandemic circumstances. They say that they made adjustments in order for DepEd to deliver distance learning at a magnitude never done before. So, I'm asking you, how many SLMs do you intend to produce?
Just a
You check
moment,
your
Your
report,
Honor.
tama.
I have to refer to my files. I have not memorized everything.
How many learners are in public schools today from K to 12?
As of this morning, it's more than 22 million.
Okay, so aren't you supposed to produce 22 million sets of SLMs?
It's not going to be for all, Your Honor, because
Okay, Yusek, unless you are able to justify that each one is not supposed to be entitled with one SLM, you have to explain paano yung online, paano yung radio and TV. You have not discussed that. So I suppose kailangan one-on-one. Di ba? How do you think these people will be able to cope up with the education under the circumstances of COVID kung magse-share sila? Halimbawa, dalawa. I'm not asking you kung paano. I'm asking you how much you're going to produce. There are 22 million learners. Tapos sasabihin mo, hindi mo alam kung paano i-produce mo?
May I be allowed to reply, Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
As I was mentioning, not all learners will be given the printed modules.
Okay,
they will all have access to the learning resources.
How much will you produce? Sige, sabihin na natin na hindi lahat po pwedeng mabigyan. But how much do you intend to produce for the second and second quarter, first and second quarter of this year?
We're still gathering information because we will make adjustments, Your Honor, on the allocations on the basis of, like, there are local governments making available gadgets.
What kind of answer are you telling us? I'm only asking you how much SLMs will you produce for the first and second quarter, given 22 million learners. Hindi mo man lang alam sagutin? Kasi itong problema, Madam Chair, noon pa, two budget years ago, I've been asking them to prepare kasi mali yung ginagawa nila eh. Pinabayaan nila yung book publishing industry. They forgot that there is a Republic Act 8047. This National Book Development Board is not doing anything. Dumating ang pandemic, they do not know what to do. So they invented SLMs. What do you call this? Self-learning materials. Thereby modules. Madam Chair, alam mo ang ginawa nila? Because I think there are more than 14,000 learning competencies today. What they did is to streamline that. At ang sabi nila, they reduce it with what they believe like most essential learning competencies. Madam Yusuf, could you confirm that? They reduce the competencies to only 40% para lang ma-produce ang module. Okay. Nobody is explaining, Madam Chair, whether or not the 40% reduction, a 60% reduction, ang na-retain lang do sa ating total competency is only 40%. So, from 100% learning competency, ginawa nilang 40% lang to be able to produce a module. They call it most essential learning competencies. You tell me now, how can you prove to me that there is still quality education sa ating mga learners? 40% na lang ang natira through the modules. And you cannot even answer how many modules you can produce for each. 40% na lang ang natira, Madam Chair. Pagkatapos hindi ko mabigyan ng kahit isa man lang. Somebody is answering?
Yes.
May I provide a response, Your Honor?
Okay.
Our computation is about 59% of the learners will be provided the printed self-learning modules.
Okay, how much have you produced today? Kasi October 5 na eh. Ano na tayo? September 15. Maybe you have 20 days. You're producing 50% or 59%?
59%.
Oh, how much is that? How much is 59% of 22 million? Do you think you can produce that?
That's being reproduced, Your Honor, right
Ito,
now
ma'am.
for
Madam
our
Chair, alam mo,
learners.
they are being produced. But you go to the ground. Pumunta ka sa Tarlac. Lahat, hindi lang sa Tarlac, Madam Chair, lahat ng probinsya nangihingi ng ganito, at ganyan, pati coupon ban, pati risograph, pati photocopying machines. They are not prepared, Madam Chair. You have to admit.
Madam Chair, may I also explain the point on the reduction of the learning competencies? When the COVID-19 came, we were in the process of reviewing the curriculum, and we have discovered that indeed, as consistent with what has been mentioned by many sectors, the curriculum is congested. And so we were in the process of identifying the essential learning competencies, because we feel that the competencies is indeed overcrowded with a lot of details. So what we did was to identify the most essential ones. And we feel that many sectors agree with us that if we provide and pay attention to the foundational skills, the learners will end up being able to learn better, instead of the old practice of trying very hard to cover as many things as we can in terms of knowledge, skills, and values that the kids should learn.
With all due respect, Madam Chair, with all due respect, kamukha nitong mother tongue. From 92%, Madam Chair, ginawa nilang 8%. Okay? English, from 93%, ginawa nilang 7%. Sino sa inyo nagpanukala na dapat ganun? Sports track, 100%. Bakit?
Lapis ng pakita, pangayo silong.
Bakit yung sports track 100% ang competency? Bakit yung English and mother tongue ginawa na lang ninyong 8% to 7%? And then you tell me na because of COVID, you were able to realize the competencies are congested and duplicated. Ngayon lang ninyo na napagmuni-muni na congested pala ang ating curriculum for so many years already, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, just want to gentle reminder to our Deputy Speaker that you have exceeded your time. Maybe you want to go for the second round.
I am very grateful to you, Madam Chair. I can go to second round, third round, up to 10th round if possible. But if this will be necessary, I don't think they will be able to defend their budget. I don't want to go to the plenary and blocking your budget. You need to... Tingnan mo, Madam Chair, yun lamang, they proposed the acquisition of laptops and computers and so on and so forth. They have 9 billion yata na computerization program from 2021. Ano po ang nangyari sa mga computers na pinagbibili nyo year in and year out? 100,000 units of computers. I saw even your specification for 2014 and 2015. They are high-end. They can run even itong present day applications or computer. Nasaan na yung mga computers natin na binibili? We're giving you billions in computer program. Meron kayong portal. Meron kayong computer common in DEPED. Nasaan na lahat ng mga to? And then, sinasabi ninyo ngayon na magkukonect tayo ng ganito. Madam Chair, ang daming humingi ng laptops ngayon. In the provinces, you go to the provinces, this is the most chaotic department I have ever come across in the preparation of these learning modalities, Madam Chair. Pero, ang dami niyong nakaparadang mga sasakyan, high-Ace and pickups in the central office. I saw them personally. You purchased more than 200 high-Ace vehicles. Why? Madam Chair, ito yung marami akong itatanong dito eh.
Second round na po kasi ang dami eh. There are 35 more interpellators, sir. And if
One last question na lang, Madam. What is the difference between a module and a book? Kasi meron kayong mga libro eh. But this is the kind of thing that you forgot. For all you these years, for 25 years, you forgot the development of the publishing industry in this country. Ang ginawa nila, Madam Chair, module na lang. Piniprevent nila kasi pagka textbook, it's 48 pages, that's textbook. Ang ginawa nila, 30 pages ang module. Pero tingnan po ninyo yung modules na pinagsama-sama nila ngayon. Kindergarten lang, how many modules? 10 modules. Ilang pages? 258. That's more than 58. Parang libro din yun eh. Salamat po, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, DS. Maybe a last remark from Yusek San Antonio.
Essentially, the difference between a textbook and a module is the module is used for self-learning. It provides clear instructions on how the learner will navigate learning. It actually allows interaction between the material and the learner, while a textbook is something that's done that covers a whole learning area or a whole discipline. The self-learning module is used in distance learning. Most distance learning interventions around the world would always make use of self-learning modules. So we did not create this. We just adopted what is being normally done by the experts around the world, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair.
I believe I've exceeded my time.
Yes,
I to not interject.
no, sorry. We still have a long list here, so maybe sa second round na kung pwede.
But this is very, very connected with what he said, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
do I still have some time left?
Wala na, nag 5 minutes na po kayo. Over na, nag-exceed na kayo sa time. But being the Vice Chair, syempre,
Just for a while.
suspend.
I'd like to just make mention about, because Yusek Pascua was trying to explain what happened to this interconnection between the schools and the students. Because they issued OUA memo 00620-0030. Kayo yung nag-issue nito, Yusek Pascua, di ba?
Yes, Madam Chair.
At
Your Honor.
ito yung sinasabi nyo, meron kayo dito minimum internet services. Let's say 500 pesos for teacher with 10 gigabyte bandwidth capacity and 300 for students with 6 gigabyte capacity. Kapag ito pinatupad ninyo, even for 2 million, for example, or 1 million students, mangangailangan ka rito ng prepaid or postpaid internet fee na 300 million. Only for 1 million, you have 22 million students. Kaya tinatanong ko kanina, Madam Chair, ano ba nangyari do sa thousands of laptops you have been procuring year in and year out? Meron kayong 1.5 to 5 billion per year DEPED computerization program. Nasaan na yung mga libo-libong mga laptops and PCs that you have procured? Paano nyo nakukonect lahat ito? Ngayon, meron na naman kayo, sabi ni Yusek Sevilla,
Pakirap up na po.
9 billion computerized program. We cannot even understand how you integrate all this. Pagkatapos, anyway, we can go on and on with this. Pati yung specification mo, there are only 2 brands of computers here. At nung makita ko, they're very, very expensive. They range from, let's say, 5,000 to 6,000 pesos per unit compared to more, I think, cheaper units.
Okay, salamat po, DS. Well noted yan. And then you can have your second round or third round if as you wish. Again, if you heard me, those who are listening via Zoom, the session has resumed, and let me call on Deputy Speaker Marcoleta for the second round of questions, and hopefully this will be your last, because the chairman is right here beside you, and you have a total of 12 minutes. DS Marcoleta.
Thank you.
There are
Madam
3
Chair.
other congressmen who yielded, no? To
Yes, Madam
okay,
Chair.
go
I was
ahead.
informed that I was given additional minutes by 3 of my colleagues.
Yes, just be careful with your heart.
So-
Baka mamaya huwag
Yes,
kang
ma'am. My heart is
stress.
as strong as a stone.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Earlier, Madam Chair, I was asking for the number of SLMs already produced by DEPED. Do you have numbers? That was 3 hours ago.
Yeah, it has. Can you please rephrase or repeat your earlier
because they're
Question.
supposed to deliver these modalities and strategies, Madam Chair. I I was informed that one of these strategies is the modular system, which is the SLMs. They call it self-learning materials. Now, considering that there are 22 million public school enrollees today from K to 12, I was only asking earlier, but that was 4 hours ago. How many SLMs or modules have they produced so far, Madam Chair? So do they have the numbers now?
Go ahead, Yusek Ann.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Your Honor, the production of self-learning materials is by region, by division, and by school. So if we can request our USEC for curriculum and instruction, and the USEC for in charge for planning, because they are the ones who have the numbers and the monitoring for such, Madam Chair.
Are we made to understand, Madam Chair, that you don't have the numbers and you still have to ask for the regions to supply you? Why so? It should be a concerted effort. This is supposed to be the central office. I believe the central office initiated the production of this, and the others will be produced by the regions, the divisions, and the schools. What about at your end? What did you do?
Can we have Yusek San Antonio? Yusek San Antonio.
Madam Chair, if I rely on
Yes.
your section, Antonio, I think he said earlier that there is something like 59%. Was that his, I don't know if that is the correct estimate that he say. Sabi niya, Madam Chair, 59% na na-produce, meaning to say, kalahati ng 22 million na-produce na. So, am I supposed to assume that about 10 million SLMs have been produced already based on the representation of USEC San Antonio? Importante po kasi ito, Madam Chair, because October 5 na po ito. If DEPED cannot even guarantee a ratio of 1-to-1, kasi sabi nila kanina, well, by far, probably 2 students or 2 enrollees will probably share 1 module. Even on that basis, Madam Chair, I think I have gained my right to know. The ibig sabihin yan, kahit kalahati nga lang eh. Kahit na 5 million lang, kung 2, halimbawa, ratio is 2-to-1. Kasi sabi niya, 59% lang ang na-produce. Pero totoo ba yun? You have to be very candid with us. Totoo ba o hindi? Because in the ground, Madam Chair, in Tarlac more particularly, nakakaawa yung mga teachers. Kasi po kami ang nandun eh. May nahinga po ng laptop, ng computer, ng risograph, ng photocopying, ng tinta, ng papel. And so, if this is the kind of approach, kasi sinabi nyo dito sa inyo, napakaganda eh. O, babasahin ko na po sa inyo. Major adjustments are being made at the central and field levels to enable DepEd to deliver distance learning at a magnitude never done before. Magaling lang naman kayo sa paggawa ng ganito eh. Never done before. I'm assuming, Madam Chair, that they started in a very fantastic fashion. Totoo yun, COVID-19. But per your admission here, it was not only COVID-19 that triggered you to streamline the competencies. Ang sabi rito, even 2 years ago at the prodding of the very Secretary of the Department of Education, 2 years ago, sinabihan na kayo to streamline the competencies. That is why, ang akala ko preparado tayo. Pero yung unang tanong ko lang, Madam Chair, nobody is daring to answer. How do you know that by streamlining the competencies by 60%, ang natira na lang is 40%? How do you know that the quality of education is still there? Pagkatapos wala pa yung modules. Can you imagine, Madam Chair, what kind of quality of education do we expect now sa ating mga kabataan? Binaba na nga nila yung sabi nila, this is the most, tawag nila MELCs. Most essential learning competencies, or MELCs. From 100%, it went down to only 40%. Sinong gumawa nun? Is it DepEd? You have a partner by the name of Assessment, Curriculum, and Technology Research Center. What is this center, Madam?
Okay, Yusek San Antonio.
Yes po.
Go
There are
ahead.
several questions. So yung quick answer po sa Assessment, Curriculum, and Research and Technology Center is a center based at UP Diliman. I guess it's funded by the Australian government that has been providing technical support to our teams in the review of the curriculum. The first phase of the curriculum review has been completed. This was the review of the intended curriculum. As mentioned po by Congressman Marcoleta, the process of reviewing the curriculum was already taking place prior to COVID. And
Can we
what
start with
helped
the
us
number?
identify
Can we start with the numbers of the modules?
competencies, the most essential learning competencies.
I want you
is
to
the
start-
initial output of
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
the study po.
I want you to start supplying us the numbers of the modules that you have so far produced.
As mentioned po earlier, it's 59%. Our target for
Where are
printed
these?
self-learning modules is
Where are these 59%
59%
modules?
of the enrollment.
Teka muna,
So,
teka
it's
muna, teka muna.
59% of the enrollment.
Nasaan yung mga 59% na modules na na-produce na ninyo? Where are these? I want to find out.
I will be mentioning po the divisions that have reported to be on time in their process of reproducing the modules. I'll just retrieve my file.
Baka magkamali
Your
ka,
Honor.
Yusek. Interlock, for example, I will tell you, napaka-ingenious ng mga tao doon. Did you know that they did not even wait for your modules? Gumawa sila ng sarili nilang learning materials. They call it Project Simple. Meron silang mga ginawang indigenous na mga materials. At pagkatapos, sinuportahan sila ng LGUs. Madam Chair, I want to report to you that in Tarlac, there are two divisions, the Tarlac City Division and the Tarlac Provincial Divisions. Nakumpleto nila ito with only 20 million pesos. Okay? Na-identify nila yung sector that are connected. Meron silang IT, may laptop, and so marami silang pinagkuhanan na tao, including us. So yung 80% na lang ang susuplayan nila ng modular materials. They were identified that. So marami na. Kaya yung dinownload ninyo na 79 million, pinag-iisipan pa nila kung gagawa pa sila nung modules ninyo. Kasi magkakadoble-doble na ang gagawin nila. So this is how erratic and I think chaotic the start of DepEd. So paano sasabihin mo, Yusek, na kayo ang ikaw ang tagapangulo ng curriculum sector ng DepEd? Bakit nide-delegate niyo sa isang grupo sa UP ang paggawa ng curriculum? You cannot delegate something that was already delegated to you. That is your primary function. Paano natin nalaman na yung 40% na streamlining ng competencies, yun ang correct na volume na dapat lamang napag-aralan ng taong, ng bata ngayon during COVID? Paano natin ma-justify yun?
Madam Chair, let me reiterate that it was not entrusted to the RC. They just provided technical support. The effort in reviewing the curriculum was undertaken by the Bureau of Curriculum Development, and we utilized certain criteria. The most important criterion used in determining which learning competencies would be retained is endurance. When we talk about endurance, these are the competencies, skills, knowledge that a child needs for him or for her to be able to acquire, to be ready to learn more in terms of the challenges of learning the things that are supposed to be learned in the next grade. So we had some considerations in doing this. The reason why the most essential learning competencies has been reduced is there were those that were merged. There were those that were deleted because they were repetitious. There were those that were also added. And again, just to point out, Madam Chair, that the effort was not given to anyone else. We just enjoyed the technical support of an agency that is supposed to provide help to us. I think, Madam Chair, it's okay for the Department of Education to utilize the expertise of people around us. We don't claim to be the experts. We always interact with the stakeholders and we recognize their support. In certain aspects of the things we do, we also collaborate with PNU, we collaborate with other universities, we listen to them because we don't really claim that we are the only ones who know. But I feel that when we say we want to work with 40% of the competencies, we did not abandon the things that were very important. We just decided to pay attention to the most important foundational competencies which we feel the learners should possess.
Nakalagay ba sa budget ninyo itong participation ng group na ito? I didn't see it in the budget of 2020. How is this group compensated?
Madam Chair, I'm not in the know. I think they are not paid.
You're supposed to be in the know kasi
as I was saying, the understanding is they are supported by funds from the Australian government.
Can you imagine,
So
curriculum ang pinag-uusapan, Madam Chair, and the USEC is not in the know. How can you justify that? Tinatanong ko lang, saan nyo kinuha ang budget to for example, get the assistance of this group?
Madam Chair, I think I said that my understanding is DEPED does not pay them. But the other members of the EXICOM can check me.
Is it
because,
true,
or my directors can check
anybody
me if
from
I'm correct.
present? Is it true na hindi nyo binayaran yung ACTRC?
Yusek Ana?
I think, Madam Chair, Director Joyce can be requested to provide the information. The Director of the Bureau of Curriculum Development.
Okay. Director Joy, you are recognized.
Madam Chair, good afternoon. This is Director Joy, the Director of the Bureau of Curriculum Development. Our partnership with ACTRC goes back sometime during the making of the development of the K-12 curriculum.
The only question, Madam, is where is the budget?
Agency is an organization that
I am not asking you to describe this organization, Madam, please.
Government.
You have to be very considerate. My question is, was this group ever budgeted? Because we didn't see any budget, coming from any group assisting DepEd in the formulation of the curriculum. Saan po nakukuha yung budget nito?
I think from the, Mr. Chair, I think from the grant of the DFAT, not from DepEd.
What is that, Madam Chair?
Can you please repeat that, Director Joy?
Sorry, Madam Chair, it's from the Australian government.
Oh, so it's a grant.
It's a grant, yes.
It's an aid from the Australian government. Okay, go ahead.
You have to be very careful in your statements because if I can produce the documents telling otherwise, baka magkaroon ka ng problema. Huwag kayong masyadong mabilis magsalita. Okay. Yung budget ninyo for modular, magkano, Madam? For first quarter and second quarter, what is your budget?
In 2020 GAA, there's no budget, Your Honor, but we requested the Department of Budget and Management for the realignment of our existing programs for 10.9 billion, 500 million of which we reserve for the minimum health standard.
So, it's 11 billion.
More or less, no, Your Honor, 9 billion for the learning resources.
Huh?
9 billion for learning resources.
For learning resources, okay. So, considering na ang nagagawa pa lang is 59%, even assuming that that is correct, napakarami pa nang hindi na po-produce. At October 5, magsisimula na ang ano. Nagkakagulo na sa baba. Kasi kung hindi namin sila tutulungan, hindi sila makakapag-umpisa. This is how you will describe the starting point of DEPED sa panahong ito. Pagkatapos, let's go about integrating the competencies, the most essential learning competencies. Ilan ba yung competencies na ilalagay nyo sa isang module? Okay,
Madam
40% na lang. Pwede ba dito na lang para madali tayo? Kasi masyadong marami sinasabi yun, hindi ko maintindihan ang paliwanag niya.
Cong Marcoleta, they have their people assigned. So pwede si, let's recognize again USEC San Antonio.
On condition, madam, that he should only answer the question.
Thank you.
No more, no less.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Let me just reiterate that when I said 59%, it's the target learners that will receive SLMs. When it comes to the status of the preparation relative to the reproduction of SLMs, our tracking indicates that as of today, 77.57% or 166 out of 214 schools division offices have reported to be on track. When we say on track, they are more than halfway in terms of reproducing their self-learning modules. And 48 out of 214 schools division offices are still we consider them progressing. They are not yet halfway in the reproduction. Let me also inform the Madam Chair that NCR is now proceeding with the distribution of the self-learning materials, printed self-learning materials for the learners in NCR. There are also regions that have also been able to report that they are like on track 100% in all their divisions, like Caraga, Region 2, Region 4A, Region 4B, Region 9, and Region 12. This is according to the reports submitted to us by the regional offices.
Madam Chair, I have a problem with the way this USEC is answering. It's too long and it is not even responsive. I am only asking how much is the budget for the SLMs? Bakit hindi ka ba sumagot kung ano lamang ang tinatanong sa'yo? Because I really wanted to know if this is the kind of, if this is how the way you produce the materials. Can you imagine, merong nagre-risograph, merong nagpo-photocopy, there is no definite, there is no standard way on how you're supposed to produce this, on how you bind this. Paano nyo iba-bind ba ito? Ilang ba ang ilang bang competencies per student from K to 12? How do you intend to do this? Ang dami mo kasing kinukwento eh. But we are confused kung paano kayo mag-start. For example, ayaw nyong gumawa ng libro. Gusto nyo modules. Okay, nasa sa inyo na yan kung gusto nyo gawin nyo. Yung K, yung let's say K, ilang competencies ba yon?
Go ahead.
San Antonio, yung kindergarten, first quarter, ilang modules ba yon?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I've not memorized all the numbers. I'm not very good in memorizing numbers. But my ASE can help me provide the exact numbers requested by
10 ang modules.
MARCOLETA.
And the total pages, 258. Madam Chair, alam mo ang problema nila? Kasi ayaw nilang gumawa ng libro. Kasi sinabi namin, you forgot the publishing industry. Noong pa, 2 budgets ago, sinabi ko na sa kanila, mali ang ginagawa ninyo because under 8047, NBDB should be the one guiding the private sector publishers to produce all books. Hindi na kayo. Wala na kayong authority gumawa ng libro. So what they decided, okay, gumawa ng ibang kaparaanan, hindi na raw libro to, Madam Chair. These are modules already. Because a textbook under the UNESCO standard should have at least 48 pages. So yung modules nila is 30 pages. Okay? Pero kapag pinagsama-sama mo, for example, yung kindergarten, 10 modules, 258 pages to. It's more than a textbook. Hindi gumagawa din kayo ng libro. Bakit ganito? Bakit ganito ang nangyari? There is no more guidance, Madam Chair. Their budget is 9 billion. Let's say 9 billion for the first and second quarter. Paano nyo pinroduce? May standard ba kayong printing? Yung bang papel pare-pareho? Hindi po. Sa Tarlac po ang sinasabi ko sa iba-ibang klaseng papel ang ginamit. Pati ang pagbabound. Ngayon, kung gagamitin po yan ng estudyante, for how long that this student or pupil or learner will be able to take advantage of this one module nang hindi niya masisira, like a book. Tapos magpapalitan sila because there are 2 students that will share one module. Eh kung hindi naman kasing photographic memory ni Congressman Ted Aresco yung bata, paano ibibigay mo sa kanya? Hindi niya na maintindihan niya ganun. It should be a ready reference for you. Ibig ba niyo sabihin wala na libro, madam? This is a simple question. Wala na libro ngayon na gagamitin? Only modules? No more books?
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead. Yusek.
I think it was very clear earlier that we mentioned that textbooks will still be used as supplement to the learning materials or resources that we have prepared.
So
let me also reiterate what I have mentioned earlier, that the most ideal learning resource for distance learning delivery modality, as far as we educators know, is the use of self-learning modules because it provides all the instruction. It allows the learners to actually interact with the materials, especially if they are capable of doing independent learning.
Can I cut you?
Yes, we will be still using the books, especially if the kids will be doing TV-based instruction or radio-based instruction, or even online. They can still refer to the books. We have mapped them against our most essential learning competencies.
Sinasabihan na nga. Ang tinatanong ko lamang sa iyo, Yusek San Antonio, is this. Ang libro ngayon na supplementary pa pala? Itong modules na ang principal, ganun ba? Dati, ang libro, yung essential, yung supplementary materials, dito yung mga modules. Pero ang nangyayari kasi ngayon, ito yung problema natin. Madam Chair, ang gumagawa na ng modules teachers, hindi po nila trabaho yun eh. Ang teacher po magtuturo yan. Yan ang pinaggagawa nila ngayon, no? Pinaggawa nyo ng module. Sila nagpo-photocopy, sila nagbabound ng mga libro. Isip-isipin nyo, para lang mag-prepare na sana sila sa kanilang pagtuturo. Sila pa ang ginawa ninyong okupado sa paggawa nito.
Excuse me, DS MARCOLETA, can you please wrap up? Your 12 minutes is about to end.
Madam Chair, let me point out that the development teams for the self-learning modules are primarily our supervisors and master teachers. We understand that in some areas, those teachers who have been found to be competent in contributing their expertise so that we can develop the self-learning modules, we're allowed to take
generalize,
part.
Yusek,
The instruction we gave
San Antonio. Please do not generalize. Do not generalize, please.
Madam Chair, I was sharing the issuance that we have made.
How many?
It's primarily
How
for
much is your
the
budget?
experts,
How much is your
etc.
budget for books this year?
Madam Chair, I think I've been very clear in saying that the most ideal
What
learning
is your
resource for
budget for
distance
books
learning
this
is
year?
the use of modules.
Excuse me,
I've not found a
What
place
is
that
your
utilizes-
budget for books this year? That is
excuse
the
me,
question.
yes, DS, maybe Yusek An can be, would be the better person
Sabi
to
ko nga
answer
dito na
that.
lang, pinipilit kasi
Finance yan eh, so kay, under yan kay Yusek Ana.
here,
Yeah.
madam.
Sa finance po, ang ating textbook and other instructional materials is 963 million for this
Okay.
year.
Next year,
It's the same level,
the
Your
same,
Honor.
okay. But you did not procure any book this year, right? Alam ko eh. I investigated.
Your Honor, I will have to refer to the Undersecretary or ASEC in charge of the procurement on that. Mine is finance.
Wala nga kayong pinrocure eh. Where is the procurement officer here? Did you procure books for this year? So, ito Madam Chair, pinipilit na naman itong USEC na ito na gagamitin daw ang libro. Wala nga silang pinrocure na libro ngayon. Ganito ka-chaotic, walang kaplano-plano. Magaling lang sila doon sa paggagawa ng mga ganitong write-up.
DS, your time is up, but just make your last statement before we move to the next interpolator because we still have the DICT.
Kasi I cannot connect this, Madam Chair. For example, yung sa mga laptop, yung computerization. I started initially earlier, sinasabi ko kay Yusek Pascua, yung iyong circular 620-0030. Ano bang nangyari ba sa yearly nating computerization, yung e-classroom natin? Every year, meron tayong procurement ng napakaraming laptop, ng PCs, and so on and so forth. Every year, meron kang budget na 1.5 billion to 5 billion. Meron kang computerization program para sa DEPED. Nasaan na yung napakaraming PCs? Thousands of PCs. Bakit hindi ito na-integrate over the years? Hanggang sa gumawa ka pa uli ng circular, okay, sinabi mo rito, this is the specification for the procurement of PCs. Ang iyong circular mandates only 2 brands. Pati yung specification niya, iisa lang ang color. Madam Chair, can you imagine that? Napakamahal nitong it's an average of 5,000 to 6,500 per unit. Hindi siya ordinary. Samantalang meron kayong makukuha between 3,000 to 3,500 and you can supply most schools. So, how did you integrate now the computerization in the department over the years? And you have to procure so many computers with specified brands. Hindi ko maintindihan to. Kung halimbawa, Madam Chair, ito meron siyang nilagay. Ito yung sinasabi mo kanina, 500 for teachers, 500 pesos for teachers, merong 10 gigabytes bandwidth capacity. Sa estudyante naman, 300 for students, 6 gigabytes capacity. Can you imagine kung magkano ang postpaid and prepaid na may invest mo rito? A municipality like the municipality of Cong Ted Haresco is probably better to improving its own Wi-Fi at masusuplayan niya ng eskwela dito. Siguro with the radius of 5 kilometers away from this. Hindi ganito, Madam Chair. I'm really I am not a technical man, pero siguro simpleng system lang ito makikita eh. Pagkatapos meron na naman kayong budget for ito na modular, 15.2 billion next year. Why are you going to waste this? Sa libro, 963 million lang. Ito, ginamit na ninyo, 9 billion, hindi pala nabigyan lahat. Ngayon, meron na naman kayong 15 billion. Why don't you go to books? Ayaw ninyo, because, ayan, private sector publishers. Nasaan yung pinangako ninyo that the National Book Development Board should be reverted to the office of the President? Where are the guys? Nangako sila sa akin 3 years ago. Nagkaroon kami ng Zoom.
Excuse me, DS.
Ano na lang ito.
Po, kasi
Madam,
15 minutes na kayo.
I have to ask for your permission. Kasi nandito si Jose Kumali. I can remember, nag-Zoom kami, I think July. I engaged at least 3 or 4 USEC para lamang ayusin namin yung National Book Publishing Industry. Ang sabi nila, in July, meron ng sulat sa President. Na I discovered, wala kayong sulat eh.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Yusek Kumali.
Opo. Tayo po'y humihingi ng paumanhin po dun sa impormasyon na naibigay po natin. Ako po mismo yung nagsabi po noon, Madam Chair, nung meeting na yun, humihingi po kami ng paumanhin kay Cong Dan. At that time, I thought, dahil may ganun po kasing pag-uusap, Madam Chair, naman talaga, na dahil meron pong grupo ng mga publishers.
Yusek Tony, but even before that, 2 years ago, si Yusek Malaluan and Escobedo, you were there. Binidyo natin yon. You promise that you will take actions na i-request natin na yung MBDB will be reverted back to the office of the President. You were there. Pagkatapos, pinangako mo na yung Volume 5, which ngayon is trying to override even 9184, hindi po pwede yung Volume 5. Sabi nyo, aaralin ninyo. Pagkatapos, nangako pa kayo na you will look into yung libro na ni-request ng isang congressman para gamitin. Okay? Na hindi dumaan sa bidding. So, kahit sino palang congressman na medyo malakas sa inyo, pwedeng sumulat, magano ng libro, okay? Papayagan ninyo kahit walang bidding. So, ako rin pwede ako sumulat sa inyo, sponsor some kind of books. Pagkatapos, pa-approving ko sa inyo because you have approved the one of that particular colleague. Pero hindi nyo ginawa. Ito yung nangyayari kasi. This is about 2-3 years ago. Walang nangyayari. Hindi nyo tinutupad ang pinag-uusapan natin. Paano ako maniniwala sa inyo ngayon? Madam Chair. Tapos, pumunta kayo doon sa kanilang central office. Pumunta ako doon eh. Tapos, umikot ako. Nagkunwa ako may hinahanap. Why are there so many high-ace mga vehicles? About 100 units siguro sa estimate ko. Anong ginagawa ng mga high-ace and some pickups?
Yes, that wraps up yung question ni DS. Okay, rebuttal from the Department of Education.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, first on the issue of vehicles, we have procured passenger vans, one for every division office. This is the first time that DEPED procured vehicles for the division offices for use of division office personnel. We have also procured 4x4 pickup vehicles. This is also the first time that DEPED purchased 4x4 vehicles for our engineers in the field because they have to visit all the schools in the mountains and in all parts of the country. They need these vehicles. This is the first time, may I repeat that, Madam Chair, this is the first time that DEPED procured these vehicles. The vehicles that was found or that were seen by the Honorable Congressman in DEPED Central Office were delivered prior to the COVID quarantine, what they call is lockdown. So when the divisions and regional offices will be getting and picking up these vehicles, they will no longer allowed to do so. At this time, we are slowly distributing all these vehicles to the different offices and to the different regions.
Madam Chair?
That's Madam Chair.
Yes, Chairman Eric Yap is recognized.
Gusto ko lang po sabihin na napakaswerte ko po dahil ito po yung unang taon kung saan sila mamimigay ng high-ace van at ng pickup. Isa po ang aking mahal na probinsyang Benguet sa makakatanggap nito at sa katunayan po, sa October 7 ay i-deliver na po namin to at masaya po ako dahil ang mga teachers po namin ay hirap na hirap. Nagpapasalamat po ako sa DEPED at finally po, under your leadership, naisipan niyo pong bumili ng pickup at ng high-ace kasi po, kung hindi po, mapipilitan po ako magbibigay sa kanila ng pickup. At dahil po dyan ay nakatipid po ako at maraming salamat po. At sana po ay may mga susunod na blessings pa po na dumating. Kasi kung titingnan niyo po, sa amin po sa Benguet, napaka-rough ng terrain doon. Ang ordinary kotse po doon ay mahihirapan kung hindi po ito 4x4. Sana po ay si Yusek Pasqua po, wag po magsawa at sana po wag lang po one time big time. Kung hindi po 10 times big times po. Salamat po, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that observation.
Si Chairman Yap, Madam
Ano
Chair.
po bang school ang sa inyo?
Sa Tarlac po, wala kahit ano.
Baka
Madam
meron
Chair.
na po. Sa Tumito meron po.
Meron pong tinitingnan ng mga ito eh. Kaya kung hindi ko pa sinabi siguro, ha? Wala pong nakalagay sa Tarlac.
Madam Chair, Your Honor,
Go ahead.
all division offices, all regional
Because
offices.
a lot of the legislators are listening right now and they would also expect their fair share or
Wala
equitable
sa
share of these brand new vehicles, especially the 4x4, to reach the farthest barangay.